the Assembly will hear an address by Her Excellency Viola Amherd, President of the Swiss Confederation. I request protocol to escort Her Excellency and invite her to address the Assembly.
Madame la Vice-Présidente,
Madam Vice President, Deputy Secretary General, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, on the morning of the 3rd of March 2002, I placed a ballot paper in the ballot box on which I had written a decisive yes. From early morning, figures and projections had already been displayed on TV screens, and yet it wasn't until the evening that the verdict was rendered. After a long and difficult struggle and a controversial election campaign, Switzerland was going to join the United Nations. In fact, ultimately it was just a few hundred votes in the Valais canton, my region of origin, that were the decisive ones. The Swiss people thus expressed the resolve of our country to shoulder its responsibilities and to participate in international politics in a spirit of solidarity. That was more than 2 decades ago. Today, I'm speaking to you just a few days away from the Swiss presidency of the Security Council. The world has changed, but not our principles. Like numerous other countries, Switzerland is increasingly concerned by worsening tensions throughout the world and the emergence of new conflicts. Unfortunately, we increasingly see gross violations of human rights and a complete disdain for internationally recognized borders. Might risks trumping the rule of law, and the use of force has considerably increased. It is only by standing together that we can confront this trend, that the great writer Charles Ferdinand Ramus described so well a century ago. I quote, "Misfortune never comes alone. They get married and have children." Great challenges face us. Wars, disasters, harm that we inflict upon our own planet, and risks and opportunities as well linked to technological progress. The UN, as the only universal organization, is absolutely central in tackling these issues. Taking the decision to work together better, irrespective of political regimes, economic structures, and cultural differences, is already a good start. The world should not divide itself up into blocks. That means that we should be ready to negotiate with all major regions of the world based on the principles that are in the interest of all, respected by all. International law must always be the basis of this. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the quest for peace prevails over all else, and Switzerland is committed to this. Standing in solidarity, faithful to its tradition of good offices, and because giving up and inaction should never be an option, Switzerland this summer brought together about 100 countries and international organizations during the high-level Conference for Peace in Ukraine. Our aim was to give an initial push for a comprehensive, fair and lasting peace in Ukraine based on international law and the UN Charter. We would like to reiterate our invitation to the international community to spare no effort to support concrete measures and the joint communique. International law is the foundation underpinning our shared efforts for peace, security and prosperity in the world. The Geneva Conventions, whose 75th anniversary we are commemorating this year, govern the legal bases for war and thus the protection of civilians. Nonetheless, recent figures from the UN paint a bleak picture of the international community. Not only are people and civilian infrastructure insufficiently protected, but they are coming under repeated attack. We can see violations of international humanitarian law in Myanmar, in Ukraine, in the Middle East, and in Sudan. My country was firmly committed to ensure that the Security Council adopt ceasefire resolutions in Gaza and in Sudan in particular. There is an urgent need for these resolutions to be implemented and upheld. By the same token, we strongly call for an immediate return for complete cessation of hostilities on both sides of the blue line. The heavy price paid by civilians in these crises and in these conflicts currently makes Switzerland even more resolved to continue to view international humanitarian law as a top priority. Respecting it is at the heart of our commitment within the Security Council. The protection of civilians is not a given, and it is no way guaranteed. We should grant it more importance in situations of conflict. The best way of protecting civilians is and will always be peace. Along these lines, my country is investing in promoting civilian and military peace. Whilst some peacekeeping missions have not always achieved the aim set out, day after day they nonetheless contribute to keeping people safe and to stability and to peace. We need to overcome disagreements when we are deciding upon new missions. Peace is too precious to become a playground where individual interests play out. Standing alongside numerous international partners, Switzerland is making its contribution to promoting peace and strengthening its commitment where possible. Over and beyond matters pertaining to peace and conflict, numerous other challenges are of concern. We urgently need to address these. For several years now, it has become increasingly clear that civilians must be protected not only during armed conflicts, but also during natural disasters. Climate change and biodiversity loss have an existential impact on a growing number of people. It is crucial that we also maintain our commitment in these areas and that we bolster them and take brave, courageous measures for the future. Numerous international agreements on the environment or on climate change have not been implemented or have been done so insufficiently. This has led to a massive destruction of our environment. I'm also concerned by the uptick in disinformation. This undermines freedom of opinion based on facts. Private and state actors are spreading false information in their own countries and in other countries in order to deepen polarization, sow discord, and destabilize states. Switzerland is firmly committed to freedom of expression and to freedom of the media. Disinformation is a poison. We want to address this by better distinguishing between what comes under the rubric of freedom of expression and what is the manipulation of facts. By debunking illegitimate influence, by fostering open and fair debate, and by informing people transparently and objectively, both as governments and as international organisations, we can achieve this. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, Switzerland is firmly committed to strong and effective multilateralism. I'm aware of the need for combined commitment from all states in order to find solutions together. My country stands out for its regular democratic debates at all levels of our country, within the municipalities, our regions, and at the Confederation level. There is an urgent need to restore such a constructive and peaceful debate between states in order to tackle existential challenges. The day before yesterday, together we adopted the Pact for the Future. The Pact is a strong commitment to multilateralism. One of the key dimensions of this is the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development. This is our roadmap, which we need to implement together as quickly as possible. The idea must be born of the vision, like the spark from the stone. Ramu also said this, and this quote still is relevant today. Let us be courageous and let us remain confident. We need a framework in which we can work together in partnership to find solutions. It is the United Nations which provides us with precisely this framework. It is up to us to make this institution stronger. Thank you very much.
On behalf of the Assembly, I wish to thank the President of the Swiss Confederation.